Welcome back, bike farmers. Today we've got a fun one. This is something that I've seen trending in the industry, but taking a 90s hybrid in this case. Some people are doing it with the mountain bikes or the ATVs, and putting some drop handlebars on them and some brifters, as they're called. If you can get yourself some triple 7 or 8 speed brifters and some drop bars, it's really easy to convert these bikes over to what's known today as a gravel bike, which is an interesting concept. It's basically, gravel bikes are drop bar hybrids. Fight me. I mean, really. And hybrids are nothing more than flat bar gravel bikes. Anyway, 700C cantilever brakes. This particular Trek 750 is a really nice one. It's TIG welded, true temper OX tubing, TIG welded right here in southern Wisconsin, in Waterloo, Wisconsin, which is 10.2 miles from Bike Farmer Workshop where I'm standing. So it's kind of neat being in this area. There's a lot of employee purchase treks that happen here, and it's been happening for decades. So a lot of regular people with bicycles, non-cyclists, have very nice bikes, and a lot of times they're hybrids. So these 750s and 790s every once in a while, but you see a lot of, you know, higher level 700 series or 7 point something series hybrids that come through. They have great parts on them. They're great frames usually. So this is one of them. And I said, you know what? Instead of just turning this into a hybrid and flipping it in the shop, I'm gonna have a little fun with it. I have this older, really tiny Trek road bike that's in pretty good shape, totally rideable, but I've been trying to sell it for years and it just hasn't found a home, so I'm gonna take it apart and strip it for parts and use it that way. So it'll free up these Sora shifter brake levers, which, you know, repurposing them onto a much more practical bike, that's what I'm all about here. So let's make a nice practical gravel bike. I mean, we're gonna be able to bomb down the Glacial Drumlin Trail on this thing. So let's get started. Okay, so this bike has been tuned up and tagged and for sale forever. You know, I couldn't sell this thing for 300 bucks. Just to find a really, really small, somebody who wants, you know, tiny, skinny tires, it's just not happening. So one thing is this drivetrain, the whole drivetrain, derailleurs, chain, crank, everything. This is a 3x8 speed bike. The 750 is a 3x7 speed bike. That means that the free hubs are different on the wheels. So I'm gonna take these wheels off of this bike and put them on the build. So we're gonna just take everything off this bike and put it on that one. So let's start stripping things off. Per the usual, just pop the wheels off. Get that right out of the way. We're gonna steal these shifters as well. So, cut the cables. Probably could have used the cables, maybe. And now the bikes are totally different sizes. It's not gonna work. So that's probably the case with, well, we can reuse the rear brake cable on the front. Probably could have used the rear shift cable on the front too. It's always nice to reuse things. So maybe we'll salvage that cable. I just pulled the wubby dubbies off. The donuts, rubber donuts. I like to call them wubby dubbies. It's too bad I put new tape on this bar. We're gonna have to take it all apart. Good thing that bar tape finishing tape is terrible. This is easy. It's just cheapo cork. not a bad way to go. I'm not sure if it's going to be reusable because I'm putting different bars on. These bars are really, really small for a really, really small bike. So I had some other wider bars in my bin that'll be more appropriate for a large bike. They're 42s, you know, you can go wider, but this is one of those things where this will be a really fun gravel bike conversion. You know, I might have a customer that comes in and is like, hey, you know, I want a road bike, drop bar bike that goes on the bike trail, and they don't really care about bar width and that kind of thing, a real modern. They just want something utilitarian and practical. Might have that happen. I don't know. I've never really tried to sell one of these. It's a fun project, especially from a hobbyist standpoint, which is just fine. You know, I've always been, I mean, I guess when I was a kid, I hung out at the bike shop and kind of learned a bit about bicycle maintenance as a hobbyist. My memory card ran out of space, so I had to go fix that problem. But anyway, I got the levers off as I was rambling on and on about how wonderful of a hobby this is that I've actually turned into how I make a living. But so we got these levers off. We'll save some of those cables. We won't save some of the others. Now I think we need to get into taking some of the drivetrain components off. So I'll zoom in on that so you can get a little bit closer to the action. So don't like these pedals. I think some flat pedals are going to be better. So the way I do pedals is I just kind of loosen up both sides awkwardly. Oh, of course, this side is reverse thread. There we go. So when you get them loose, then you can just kind of grab onto the spindles. Oh, that one's not, it's not really freed up here for me. Here we go. Do one of these numbers. Anyway, you get the point, right? Maybe not. That was a terrible example. Ow. There. Got those pedals off. Set them aside for now. Let me get this cable out of the way. Cable remainder. Do the same with the rear. Just pull these guys out of the way and toss them out. Okay. This chain does not likely have a quick link. I'm going to look for one quick. Okay, keeping an eye on things here. Yeah, I didn't think so. I love these little Park Tool CT5 chain tools. They're my favorite. Get that chain off. I'm gonna set it on the bench. May come back to that, steal some, either use it or steal some links. Okay. Take the front derailleur off. Might even be the same clamp size. That would be convenient. So the front derailleur is a braze-on front derailleur with an adapter. You can see it's 2 parts. Derailleur, adapter. Take the rear derailleur off. I like this old Tiagra derailleur. It's a nice one, nice 9-speed derailleur. And it's silver, which is always fun. Can't get any silver components these days. I mean, you can, you just gotta pay for them. Taking the crank bolts off. And then crank removal tool. I like these. You find your 15mm wrench. Probably should have looked for a washer in there. Yeah. It seemed a little firm. No washer. Okay. It is what it is, folks. If there's a washer in there, which there is sometimes, you will break things. Crank pulled. Ooh, you're getting very sleepy. Look at that crank. Very cool. Very shiny. And then for good measure, actually, speaking of measure, we should measure. I was going to say, for good measure, let's pull the bottom bracket and reuse it too. But let's make sure that it's the right size. Where's my 0? 0, looks like a 68. So we should be okay, right? One other thing I noticed on this bike that's worth saving is this seat post. It's got a carbon seat post. So there's that. Probably save that stem as well. We'll just set it aside for now. There's a 27.2 carbon seat post. It's a very short one, but you never know. Somebody might get excited about that someday. That somebody might be me. Not today though. A nice little used to saddle we'll put in the bin. Donor bike is stripped. Start stripping the, I don't know, what do we call it? The build bike. So, I usually say per the usual, we'll take the wheels off right away. But apparently, per the usual, I took the pedals off right away. And then these guys can just be set aside. I mean, I do come across the need for 7-speed hybrid wheels periodically, but I might find a need for these. They're nice, decent used wheels. Black STX brakes that match, so that's good. And the brake cables are very rusty anyway, so just kind of cut those. And we've got grip shifts, so changing the cables is kind of a pain in the butt, but they're useful in the shop. Working 3x7 grip shifts will be used, so we will take that into consideration. And I'm cutting the cables as long as possible. That's the wrong size. Filthy bench is particularly discombobulated today, but I'm still good at finding tools. I'm going to leave this piece of housing. I think it's going to be fine. This one is pretty much useless. Getting things cleaned up here. Some brake housing. Okay, now there's a couple ways to consider this. You know, once you get everything cut off, you know, for time's sake, you can just pop. Oh wait, we're going to use that stem. I was going to say you can just pop the stem off and let her rip, but I believe we will reuse the stem. I think I can get the new bars on it, but that's a good stem. So we will take the bars all apart. I was gonna say you can save some time and just pop the stem off and set it aside and strip parts from it, but so the grip shift grips themselves are not in great shape. So I think we'll just cut those off. With a razor or any other sharper than usual knife. Sharper than a butter knife. I just threw those bar ends away, by the way. There's kind of a million of them. I do get a request here and there for them. You know, they're not worth a whole lot of money, and it can kind of be an issue of installing, but sometimes I'm a nice guy and I'll do it. I value my time, and with just little things like that, it's like, well, what do you charge for install, you know, on a $5 part? I feel like I'm ripping people off to charge them $20 in labor, but I value my time, my expertise. It's like, I should charge for it. And $20 is my go-to. Like, if I solve your problem, is it worth $20? A lot of people, you know, it's all about time, and I don't know. I think expertise and problem solving has value. So there's the shifters, all ready to. I'm gonna put it in my shifters bin, right there, 3x7, ready to go. Now, these brake levers are also usable. They're interesting. Diacomp brake levers. They say Versa, PC5 Versa on them. I don't know. I mean, they're nice. I don't know if they're valuable. Probably not. But They might come in handy someday. I'm gonna put them in the bin because they're complete, they're in good shape, they're good quality, and you never know. I wonder if the Versa means they're like somehow convertible from cantilever to V-brake, but this is like way before V-brakes were a thing, or linear pull. Were called V-brakes in the beginning. Struggling to get my cable out. Ugh. Watch me struggle. Oh, there it is. Bink. I usually win eventually. Man, the filthy bench is really something right now. Hey, let's take a look at it. Trigger warning for all of you neat freaks. Ooh, look at the filth. Look at the disorganization. You want to get there? Man, how does anyone ever get anything done? Fun little diversion there. Loud noises. How do you feel about that? Let's see here. How are we gonna do this? So one thing we can do is really take some risks here. Risks and liberties. Pull that out, and then you can use a tool to widen your clamp. And this can be easier with the stem off the bike as well. I'm gonna grab a different tool. 6mm Allen key here. We're just gonna really bend it. Nope, I think we're gonna need to take it off. I'm gonna win. We're gonna win. Have to win. I like the stem too much. There we go. Okay. Bend it back into shape a little bit. Now I'm going to use this and try to catch the first threads. Hopefully don't strip everything out. I think I'm winning. I'm winning. Those are some goofy bars. Okay. Feeling good. So it has a nice Tiagra headset that feels really smooth yet. It's a really nice bike to be doing this with. It's got some cosmetic issues. Why did I throw that wrench? It's got a few cosmetic issues that can't do a whole lot about. You know, it's not, the frame's really not in that great a shape. My microphone fell off. Sorry about that, folks. Probably sounded kind of weird. Is it working still? Yeah, okay. Kind of guessing on the angle here. Trim up the straddle cables here a bit. Set them aside. There we go. Yeah, the other thing about using that triple road drivetrain is you get a little higher gearing. This is some pretty low gearing. It's going to be a much wider range gearing. You're not going to get a super low gear on it. So, I mean, for real gnarly gravel, so it's a 30. I might be able, well, so it's going to be 30-28. Maybe we do keep this. Yeah, I think let's keep this. Yep. I'm gonna do it. I'm keeping, Papa don't preach, I'm keeping this baby. And then I'm gonna use that Tiagra rear derailleur still in the back. Well, yeah, because STXRC was the 8-speed stuff. I mean, this derailleur should work, but yeah. I think the Tiagra rear derailleur looks a little more deliberate, if that makes sense. Saves a little bit of messing around with bottom brackets and that kind of thing too, in case everything isn't really compatible. So we're going to break the chain right there. And actually, it's pretty filthy, so let's clean it. But we'll pop this derailleur off. I might as well throw that in the cleaner too. Might as well throw the new derailleur in there too. So here's my ultrasonic cleaner. Just have it over here in the shop bathroom. Here's the chain. A few derailleurs. I got some other parts I wanted to clean. So I put them in there. Okay. Then let's go 15 minutes. Turn the temperature on too. I mean, it's not gonna get warm. Time. There you go. We'll come back when it's done. Here's some nice stainless bottle screws. And it's missing one. I'm pretty sure I can find something to match in my bins. But the ones I pulled off here are still nice and shiny. I like good hardware. Mentioned before that this bike is an American-made one. It's not a Taiwanese bike. So early 90s, they were TIG welding steel frames with true temper tubing. And this is one of those. I had somebody tell me, well, maybe they were talking about the carbon bikes. You know, I know a lot of people that have worked at Trek and actually manufactured these bikes through history. It's fun to learn about the history of it, but you know, they would do the higher end ones, so the 950s, or the 750s, well, the 950s too, 770s and that sort of thing were made here, but the cheaper ones, the 700s, the 720s, and 730s were all made in Taiwan. And that's how they did it for a number of years before everything moved over there. But you know, and then the nicer tubing, the True Temper OX tubing. There's the stickers. True Temper OX tubing. A little more cleaning and just kind of tending to the frame here. These brake bosses are feeling pretty dry. I'm gonna drop some Tri-Flow down in the crevices and just try to kind of work it in there a little bit. Yeah, they're coming right back to life. So that kind of flushes things out. Really, these brakes are gonna feel so good. And I like these old pads, even though they're old. I don't think they're in that bad a shape. But while I have them opened up here, we can kind of resurface them a little bit. Take some of that like really hard film off of it. I suppose, I mean, I have some replacement pads and they're soft. I just don't like how they feel. These are gonna be really nice and snappy. We'll see if they howl. If they don't howl, I'm keeping them on here. If they do howl, then we'll just replace them. And I don't really carry super nice cantilever brake pads, so I don't have anything really cool or wonderful. And this bike isn't going to be that cool and wonderful anyway. It's going to be a very nice, very, very sensible, very practical bike, but nothing super cool. I mean, made in the USA Trek is kind of cool. A little bit of rubbing there. Let's get the front brakes. So these you can go at from behind. Just let gravity pull that lube down in there. You can kind of wiggle them, create some gaps. Get some good flow. Better than new. Looks pretty good. Okay, well, I suppose we could work on the wheels. Things are still cleaning in the parts washer. So these are road wheels. And it's like a hybrid-y gravel thing, so I don't know. It's probably not the best choice, but they're in really good shape. And they're strong. They're good wheels. It's just skinny rims. But I'm gonna pull those tiny little road tires off. All right, where's my wet rag? I had a wet one in here somewhere. Maybe not. Start anew. And it's 9:55. The shop opens at 10, and I see a custy has already pulled up. Try to get these videos done before the shop opens up in the morning so I don't get interrupted all the time. But this morning has posed some challenges with full memory cards and dirty chains. I lost my 5mm Allen key, which, you know, given the state of the filthy bench today, would make a lot of sense. But I didn't lose it on the bench. I, for some reason, threw it in the garbage. It'll be interesting if that shows up. I think it was right when I removed the derailleur from the build bike. I think I felt like I needed to be throwing something away, and there went the wrench. So as I was looking for that, the parts washer beeped, and things weren't quite clean yet, and it was warming up, it was heating up, so I'm giving it, I put in a little more degreaser. I just used some orange degreaser and kind of refilled it and started that again. So it's getting hotter with new degreaser and little detergent, you know, help things move along. I got 3 minutes before I have to go talk to that customer. Touch up this wheel a little bit. It's pretty straight. Okay, good enough. Let's see what we got here. Some shiny parts. Here's the old derailleur. Cleans up pretty well. Here's an old Campagnolo Nuvo record derailleur that I pulled off a bike the other day that just decided to throw in here while I was cleaning. And here's the Tiagra derailleur. I think we will use this one just to kind of show that things have been modernized. I like how that feels. This is that old front derailleur that I just threw in there, and then the chain, which was absolutely filthy and still is pretty gross, but way better. It's got most of the, it was really caked on gunk, and the heat kind of melts that down, and then the ultrasonic takes care of the rest. But it's still got some gunk to it, but I think after we wipe it down, so on and so forth, squirt some lube on it, it'll shape up pretty nice. So let's take the parts that we like, go back. When the parts are wet from the parts washer, take some compressed air. Just dry things off a little bit. Then, well, you can put the rear derailleur back on the bike. Everything's all cleaned up. Put a little dab of grease on the threads for good measure. Squirt it down with some one step, let it sit. So this chain, we're not changing a whole lot, if anything, by going to 9-speed. It's gonna be the same ratio, same gear ratio, blah, blah, blah. Well, sort of, as how this bike was originally set up. So if we use the original chain, theoretically, the length is fine. We don't really have to think about it. So we're just going to take the chain and put it back on the bike here. Then we'll get back to that front wheel. Give you a close-up of that. So we'll push the pin through. Okay, just so it's poking out the other side. And you back it off. Okay, and then I feel, and I think it feels really good. And then this side's sticking out a little bit more than these. So that's what this other set of grooves is for. Do that, and then you can push this side in. So right now you got yourself a sticky link, all right? But if you use this second set of grooves, there's nothing holding the back side, and so you can push that pin through and it creates just enough of a gap. There we go. Just a little smidge. Feel it, make sure everything's even, and then that's all free flowing. I'm going to take some one step on this chain. The chain's still probably kind of wet from the parts cleaner, but some one step will displace some of that moisture. And kind of give things another cleaning step here. But I want that lubricant and cleaner, that one step, to kind of sit on that. Work its way in, work its magic. And as we are setting this bike up, we'll keep rubbing that chain down and bring it back to life. So, front wheel's the same as the rear. We're just going to pop this tire and tube off, clean it, touch it up, true it, and then we'll be picking out some tires for this bike. These are skinny rims, but they're good ones. Usually I like to go as wide as possible, but really wide tires on skinny rims isn't always the best idea. Things like to roll. You can get away with it, but it's not ideal. So I'm not exactly sure. I was going to go with 38s was my original plan, some nice plump tires, but maybe we'll just stick with 35, which is kind of a native hybrid middle of the road tire size. .32s, and we could call it an all-road bike, which is really what we should be calling it anyway, I think. I like the designation between all-road and all-terrain, ATB. I think ATB suggests upright, you know, really kind of in the mountains or, you know, wilderness type stuff. There's more ATB where you're going to be on, possibly on hiking trails and that kind of thing. Whereas all road means, you know, it's a, what do you call it? An improved surface of some sort. ATB is another animal. We'll get into that at some point. Couple little spots in this rim. Nothing crazy. Just a little bit of settling over time. These are not easy to get perfect. Not all wheels are easy to get perfect. Very complicated systems. You gotta start with some really great, well-built parts. These aren't the best spokes in the world. That's the weak point of these wheels. It's good enough though. Good enough for what we're doing.